Well, good afternoon on this wonderful Thursday. Forgive me for not streaming earlier. I tried. I really tried to get an earlier stream out, but we're still in the midst of kind of trying to figure out how we're doing our timing and stuff like that. So thank you for all of your patience, friendship, all the really, really good stuff. Hey, what's going on, Alpha? Bobby, what's going on, man? Hello again to you as well, joining us from Twitch. Go ahead and hit that like button, folks, because, that helps in all the good ways. Not going to get into the details, but it does. We had a really good conversation. We're up late last night, and yeah, that was really fun and exciting. So appreciate those kind of conversations quite a bit. So what are we going to be talking about today? Well, it's like almost entirely up to you. One of these days I'll figure out my streams in which like we have specific topics that we can deal with. But always remember that if you're a part of our Discord community, you can suggest videos for us to react to. There's actually a video suggestion thing. Preferably they're not really long videos. Okay. And apologetics related would be not just like general. I'm not really in the business of making just general Christian content. For those who don't know that yet, I stay away as much as I can. If the general kind of conversation that's going on impacts a Christian worldview or theological positions, I think that are important, then we can speak about that. But if it doesn't, then not really interested. Yeah. So hey, what's up? On Fire for Jesus. Blessings, Arthur, to you and your family. You too. God bless you as well. As you're joining us on this Thursday afternoon, go ahead and hit that like button. Grab your coffee, grab a drink, pull out your Bible. If you got Bible questions, if you got apologetics questions, pull them out. We'll talk about them. We'll go through them. As I'm speaking, I remember that I had ordered Gary Habermas's new book. That's supposed to arrive track package. Just says on the way. Okay, it's going to arrive Sunday, January 20th by 7 p.m. Gotta wait 2 more days. I don't know why. That took way too long. It was supposed to be faster than that. Should have just ordered it on Amazon. You live, you learn. So let me know what you guys are thinking through and thinking about. I hope that you are. I hope that you're thinking through things. What I would refer to as in a Christianly manner. Are there people in heaven right now, or does something have to happen first? I'm trying to see kind of what you mean by something would have to happen first. So my position is that people, when they die, go to heaven. That's the assumption, they're being Christians. There's another position that believes in soul sleep, that people essentially rest, they sleep, they're not aware, and that this is in the end of days when they're all resurrected and so on and so forth. But I just hold to a position that I think has been the traditional position of Christians. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And so, yeah, I think there are people in heaven. I mean, Jesus is a person, and he's in heaven. So if I want to get snarky, I'll give you an answer like that. So, yeah. I think I answered this. The way Thessalonians speaks of as far as David being asleep. Being asleep, the sleep language, as some have fallen asleep, is a euphemism. This is it's the way we speak about 6 feet under or pushing daisies. Like, it just means dead. So I don't think it's meant to be taken literally. I don't think the people believed it literally. And so I don't make too much of it just because it says they are, if it says some of the saints who have fallen asleep, just means they're dead. That's it. Well, hello there, Jerome. That is what I thought. I only asked because I saw something yesterday where a person was saying no one's in heaven but asleep. Yeah, again, I think there are people obviously that believe that. There are people who hold to a position of what's called soul sleep. But if they're going to base that on the language that's used, like people falling asleep or being asleep, then that's a weak argument, is what I would say. They probably need to develop the argument a bit further in different ways. Should Arabic-speaking Christians avoid the word Allah? No. Arabic-speaking Christians should not avoid the word Allah. It means God, and I'm cool with it. That's their language. It just means God. It's really dependent on the definitions that are given to the word Allah. For the same reason, I don't think Armenians should avoid the word Astvats or any other language that has a word for God, even though it might be used in other religions. What's my justification for this? The Bible doesn't avoid the word El or Elohim as a reference to God, and El was the chief Canaanite god. It's the father of Baal. And the Bible doesn't avoid that. So I can develop a pretty decent biblical argument on how we could, if the linguistic kind of structure is there, and the Christian can employ that word, then they should. For the same reason why I think John in the Gospel of John doesn't avoid using the word logos to be a reference to Jesus, even though Platonic thought and Neoplatonism had a completely different definition of what the logos was. So I just give you two biblical examples as to why Arabic-speaking Christians should not avoid the word Allah, and they haven't historically. Arabic-speaking Christians have been around for a very long time, and they've used the word Allah to be a reference to God. Well, welcome everybody. Again, if you're jumping into this chat, just do me a favor, guys. Please hit the like button. There's 9 of you guys in here. 3 people have hit it. It's just super simple to hit the like button. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Before I run some questions, let me ask you this. When you say that you're a mere Christianity Christian, I'm not. Okay, I see what you're saying, but I'll explain it. You're a mere Christianity Christian. Does that mean that you're accepting of doctrine that you view as even remotely plausible? So, I myself am Protestant. I mean, I'm an evangelical Protestant. I was more speaking about the way that I do ministry and the way that I think this ministry, Apologia Center, runs is when I have conversations with non-Christians, I don't get involved. I don't get into conversations, I suppose, about things that Christians disagree about. I try to keep it at a mere Christianity level and present the gospel because I want people to become Christians. In order for us to have the stuff that Christians disagree about conversation, which is I would say, in-family debate, the person would have to become Christian. It's like, I'm not interested in having what Christians disagree about with a non-Christian. I want to speak about why they should be a Christian. That's what I meant. I personally hold to a lot of specifics that some of them are quite a bit complex and worth the debate, in my opinion. So, on fire for Jesus. Again, Allah means God. The word just means God. The same exact way how the Hebrew or Aramaic word El means God, or Elohim. So it is really reliant on the way people define the word. If I say Allah in Arabic, if I'm an Arabic speaking Christian and I say Allah and I give it the definitions that I give in regards to the proper Christian definition of who God is, Trinity, so on and so forth, there's nothing wrong with the word. I don't know what you mean by, is it a different God? Like, there is no other God than God, right? Like, it's not like there's another Muslim God named Allah. Like, that is not the way we do theology. I will again say that Christians who are Arabic have been using the word Allah for God and in their Bible translations for a very, very long time. This is no issue. It's their language. They want to employ the word. Like, Muslims don't have ownership over this word. What again is extremely important to this conversation is that the definition of the word is going to have to be very important. Okay? And like I said, the word El is used, and El is a Canaanite deity. El means different stuff in Canaanite religion, and the Bible employs that as a reference to God. El, Elohim, singular, plural. The Bible doesn't have an issue over linguistic stuff like that. People who speak multiple languages and know how words can change meanings and stuff like that, I think are pretty on board with what I'm saying. Bobby says, this is a good, I'm just going to trust you on this, but Christians were using the word Allah before Muslims were. Right? I mean, a very simple way of, what Bobby's bringing into this conversation is a very simple way of proving your point is go to Arabic translations of biblical texts prior to Muhammad and see whether they're using the word Allah as a reference to God. And if they are, then there's no case to be made anymore. Again, definitions are what's going to matter here. It's sort of like when I say Jesus, and when a Jehovah's Witness says Jesus, and when a Mormon says Jesus, even though we're making the same reference, we mean completely different things by that word, by that name. So if I go to a Mormon and I say, do you believe in Jesus? And he says, yes. And then we get into what that means. He clearly means something else with Jesus. And the same thing with the Jehovah's Witness. Alpha Beta says, prior to Islam, Allah was the moon god in Arabia. I don't know how conclusive that is. Again, hey, Alpha, very simple way of doing this is going back and seeing if Christians were using the word Allah prior to Muslims. Go to the 5th century, go to the 4th century, go to the 3rd century, and look at Arabs referencing God and see the word that they were using. Not a linguist, I'm not an Arabic scholar, but I'm pretty sure you can very easily find references. Bobby says the word Allah has been, this is a quote he's bringing in, the word Allah has been used by Arabic people of different religions since pre-Islamic times. A source to that quote would be nice, by the way. And even if it was the moon god, again, could you use a word and change its definition? In my mind, you can very easily change the definition to a word. I gave you the example of the logos. In Platonism and Neoplatonism, the word logos does not have the meaning that you and I give the word logos that John does in John chapter 1. So that's a Wikipedia article, by the way. We are entitled to change definitions, I think, of words. And as a matter of fact, definitions of words naturally change in language. Think about the word, I always use this, but like the word cool is a very simple example. It's like this, the definition to this word has changed over the last 50 years. And it has multiple meanings now. Arabs didn't come around until Ishmael had his children. There's no mention of Arabs prior to that. Some have tried to say Arabs existed prior because supposedly Abraham went to Arabia. Yeah, I mean, that's not even the conversation here, right? I don't want to get into like lineage, genealogy kind of conversation. The conversation here is more linguistic and missiological, the study of missions. As to say, I'm going to translate the Bible into Arabic, and every time there's the word God that appears, would I translate that as Allah? And the Arabic translations of the Bible I've seen have that. So yeah, not an issue for me. Jerome says, not related to this topic, but how good do you think that the puddle analogy is in response to fine tuning? This is only thing that I remember hearing from last night. It's kind of just okay in my view. So the versions of the fine tuning that I like, that I've seen, don't rely on one thing. I think the puddle argument is oversimplified, right? So it makes sense in the way it's presented. Like, oh, look, this is a perfectly shaped thing for me. But when you look at the exact details and the intelligence that would need to corroborate those things, and for all those things to work together for us to have the kind of universe that we have, for us to have the kind of life that we have, then it falls apart. I mean, suppose there was a number of things. So I would add. I didn't even catch the pun, but I got it. Yeah, I mean, suppose we added all the other condition to the puddle. Would we make the same kind of reference? Again, I think it's a bit oversimplified. I get what the response is, and I think it's reasonable, like as a gut reaction, it sort of makes sense. But when you fill in the details, then that falls apart. Because all we're doing is we're talking about one aspect of the puddle, which is like the shape of the hole the puddle is in. As opposed to when we're talking about life on Earth, or life on Earth in the universe or in the galaxy, that becomes a lot more complicated. Especially when considering that things could have been different, and also considering that things could have been, like, I don't want to say infinitely different, but the possibilities are almost endless. But there's no topic. We're just... Hey, Happy Luke. Is complexity how we recognize design? I think that's an oversimplified question. I mean, maybe not. Depends. I don't know whether I would say complexity is always how we recognize design, but in certain cases, complexity is. I wouldn't necessarily say complexity. I'd say intelligence. Hey, should I throw an eCam link up for y'all to call in? If anybody wants to. Here, I'll do that. Okay, that's pinned. Don't mean to massively pivot again, but can we talk about a sort of serious thing? It's about Christian views on self-harm that I've thought about recently. Probably not good for a stream, but I thought that I'd ask anyway, since you can always say no. No, I don't mind talking about this. I think this is actually a conversation. I mean, it's a question I had when I was a fresh Christian, as to, I mean, depending on what your question is and the direction it goes into, I'm completely fine having this conversation. Gotta come up with the easier way of doing this mic. There I go. Tinkering again. It's not bad. Well then. Guess I'll run it. Run it, bro. Do it. Pen and pad in hand. Electronic pen and pad in hand. I just got this new pencil for my stylus, whatever. For my remarkable, and I like it quite a bit. It's very light. It's got an eraser on the butt. Sort of soft. It writes like a pencil. It's very fine point. So do you want to call in is the question. No, he wants to just write. So, I'm aware that suicide and the like are just outright sins. Cool. We can agree on that. And so doing so and not being able to repent of it is very dangerous. Okay? Do you know what happens to a Christian who kills themselves? So I like what you wrote afterwards, and I want people. So obviously you don't know this. I get how you're using that. But still. So let's run through a number of things that I think will help us. When it comes to repentance, I'm not talking about like confessing our sins. So there's two different things we're talking about. Like repentance in the sense that one is born again, indwelt by the Holy Spirit, accepted by God, and a child of God, X, Y, and Z. That is by repentance. That is by, let's say, giving your life to Jesus. The way we understand this is that God gives us grace. It is all because of the grace of God, and Jesus' death covers all sin. If we start from there, and then we ask ourselves a question like, suppose I was committing a sin and I died in the midst of it. Or suppose one was committing a sin and died in the act of committing the sin. Would they be forgiven? Is the death of Jesus enough for the forgiveness of this person's sins? I think the reasonable answer to this is yes. Or else we are preaching a salvation by works. Christ's forgiveness is sufficient, even when we don't confess our sins. We are forgiven. Because the confession of sins post becoming Christians, the forgiveness of our sins post becoming Christians is not reliant on our confessing our sins. It's just forgiven. Now, we confess it because we want to acknowledge it and be in right relationship with Christ and everything that comes there. With all that said, again, I would agree that there's a sin of suicide, that is a sin. But I think Christ's forgiveness covers that. That's the logical conclusion of believing in you're saved in the first place, and there's no sin you can technically commit that like kicks you outside of God's love, his acceptance of you. The other thing that might make it a bit more complicated in a situation like this, I mean, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about self-harm, like as to the reason why the individual does what they did, right? Suppose someone has a legitimate mental illness that causes them to do that. Suppose a person does that and people have done that because they're faced with extremely difficult situations or whatever like that, right? You can fill in the gaps. I don't want to give any kind of descriptive marks on that. So that's a very simple way I would answer it. I think my view is that Christ's love and forgiveness covers all sin. And that would be one of them. I don't think, and I know Nidhi's commenting here in regards to like once saved, always saved. I don't hold to once saved, always saved, and my answer stands completely fine. You don't need to hold to once saved, always saved to give an answer like the one I just did. Okay? Yeah. So again, on fire for Jesus. Very, very sorry for that and for your loss. I can just imagine what that would be like. Nidhi said, "You're weird." I'm not. I'm just theologically consistent. But hey, that's okay. Neo Spirit X. What's up? How you doing, Neil? I think, is this your first time on my channel, or have you been here before? Welcome, first and foremost. If it is your, well, it's the first time I'm seeing you, so we will welcome you. Welcome. Neil says, Trinitarian here. Well, I'm glad that you got your view of God correct and proper. When Mary conceived, in that very moment, is that the exact moment when the Son came down from heaven and for those 9 months was spent in the womb and not with his Father in heaven? That's a very, very good question. It seems to me that would be the logical conclusion. That is a part of the incarnation story, that the second person of the Trinity became man and went through everything that you and I go through. So if the view is that you and I come into existence, which I think it is, properly, if you and I come into existence at conception, then it would logically follow that upon conception, the Son of God is in the womb of Mary. Nidhi actually has a really good scriptural response to this. He says, I mean, he got Elizabeth kicking. So yes, wait, Elizabeth wasn't kicking, John was kicking, but I get what you mean. Very good point, Nidhi. So when Mary goes, I don't know how far along Mary is. You got to sit down and make the calculations and stuff like that. But Elizabeth is further along in her pregnancy than Mary is. But when Mary goes to see Elizabeth, John kicks, and immediately Elizabeth's response is, how is it the mother of my Lord has come? Like the baby in the womb is already thought about as the Lord, right? So yeah, Neil, I think your thought process there is correct. Jerome said, I asked someone else this question yesterday and they pretty much said the same thing. Wow, well, that someone else must be thinking properly. I was also thinking about what a value that's gained from someone's suicide. It's hard to say that anyone learns anything from a Christian. Is that self-harm? I don't know. So soul building is hard to apply here. Yeah, I don't think there is a value there. I don't think there's ever a value when it comes to self-harm, right? That's a negative. That is not the way God intends us to live our lives. I mean, when you think about the Bible speaking about having the joy of the Lord and living our lives in ways where it honors God and filled with the Spirit, so on and so forth, like all those things that the Bible speaks about as to the life of the Christian. But again, Christians are not exempt from illnesses. Okay? Christians are not exempt from illnesses. So could I get a random disease? Yes. Could a Christian fall down and break their leg and or their spine and be bound to a wheelchair for the rest of their lives? Correct. And I think mental illnesses, what I would call brain illnesses, exist, and they could happen to Christians. And as a result, Christians can act in ways that are wrong, act in ways that, because of the illness, it brings them to that point. So there's no value in it, but you could say it's as a result. Now, I'm not one of those individuals that thinks all victims of suicide is a result of mental illness. Sometimes people commit suicide because they've gotten themselves into big messes in life and they don't want to face it, and so it's easier for them to take their own lives. Sometimes people take their lives in war because they don't want to be captured by the enemy. Sometimes somebody has a job as a spy and is captured and takes their own life. So, like, we can come up with many, many different scenarios as to this would happen, or it could happen. And so I think the conversation needs to be nuanced a lot more. I think people might even take their lives because of demonic activity in their lives. I think that's a real possibility. What are your thoughts on young earth creationism? Is it a harm of religion when people are indoctrinated to deny large fields of science? I think that's a sort of trappy question that I don't like. My thoughts on young earth creationism is that I don't think the Bible teaches it. That's my personal view. I can see how somebody can read the Bible and walk away with a young earth creationist view. For the same reason, I can see why someone can read the Bible and walk away with a Calvinist view. My friends that I have that are young earth creationists are actually not individuals who deny large fields of science. They actually interpret the data differently, is what I would say. So what I was, and I forgot the gentleman's names, but I was at a conference and the guy had a PhD in, I think it was biology, if I'm not mistaken. Like the dude was a legitimate scientist. He publishes and he works in that area as a younger creationist. Very intelligent. He interprets the data differently, and he thinks that you should as well. So I think that's not a fair. I think it's a caricature. Let me put it that way. So yeah, some people think so. Some people think that it's bad, but I wouldn't put. Hey David, what's going on, man? Harmonica Luke, is it your first time on our channel as well? Let me know. Sean says, I heard the Catholic Church made suicide a sin because loads were killing themselves to go to heaven. That's probably some kind of a made-up story, my guy. In the early church. Yeah, I've never heard that. So hang on. Happy Luke and Harmonica Luke, are you guys the same person? Let me know. Are you using two different accounts? When Jesus says that to the apostles, that some of you will not see death until you see the kingdom of God coming, when is he referring to? Luke 9:27, Matthew 6:28, Mark 9:1. I think, man, I'm trying to come up with this from memory. One of them could be like 70 AD, where God judges Israel. The other one, I think the more immediate, proper interpretation of those texts, I think every single one of those texts is followed by the Mount of Transfiguration. And I think that's probably what the fulfillment of that is. And some of them do not see death and they see the kingdom of God come. They see Jesus transfigured. I'm pretty sure every single one of those texts is followed by the Mount of Transfiguration. Let's look it up. Luke 9:27 is my birthday, by the way, September the 27th. Yeah, so Luke 9:20. So Luke's is followed by the Transfiguration account. Matthew 6:28. Judging others. Matthew's is not. No, that's... Sorry, Matthew's is not 6:28. You got that wrong. That reference is wrong. In Matthew 6:28, it says, "And why are you anxious about clothing? Consider it." Yeah, that's a wrong passage. And Mark 9. Yeah, in Mark, it's transfiguration. So you got the Matthew reference wrong, but the Luke and the Mark references are correct, and they both follow the transfiguration. Same person. Okay. Matthew 17. Correct. Yeah. So I think the immediate is that. People like immediately think end time stuff when they read these passages, and that's when I gave that sort of interpretive lens up, and I tried to the best of my abilities to interpret the text within the context, within the immediate literary context. Meaning, like, one of the questions you want to ask when you're reading the Bible is what comes before and what comes after this text. I'd say like 8 out of 10 times you're going to find the answer to your question within that section. I'm just throwing around numbers. So if someone's like, no, it's 6 out of 10 times, fine. Have it your way. In hindsight, I'm kind of apologetic about my question earlier. It's just something that weighed on me for almost a day now, and thought this would be okay place to ask about it. I thought, no, it's completely fine. Look, man, I mean, the question you asked had to do with somebody who was in this chat who had a serious question about this in regards to their father. The church, I think, has done a disservice, and specifically maybe the Catholic Church has done a disservice of just having a very... right, like, I haven't read Catholic theologians on this subject and how they view it. So maybe my view is even a caricature, and I don't want to do that. Maybe they nuance it properly and stuff like that. But the idea that's generally out there that people have believed that if one commits suicide, they're going to go to hell or something, like there's no salvation for them at all. They gave it up, they threw it away or whatever like that. I think is bad. That was a question I had very early on in my Christianity. And the answer I gave you was probably the most satisfying answer I came across, and the most biblical answer I came across, because it wholly rests on God's grace and love towards us, and how God forgives us. I want to sit like this from now on. Jerome, somebody in the comments on Fire for Jesus Apologetic said that her dad committed suicide. I think that your answer is fine, but I still think that if there isn't a value to be drawn... Oh, that's the way you're speaking about it. Okay. It might just be pointless or gratuitous evil. I see what you're... I think I misunderstood you when you said, like, if there isn't any value. Well, I think there is value in that part of the question. Like, we could very well see what it does to loved ones and the pain it causes in loved ones. And you could say that there's value caused in that sense of, hey, even though you might be at like at your lowest and think nobody cares about you or whatever like that, that's just not true. There's plenty of people that care about you and love you and would definitely miss you and find value in your presence, even if they don't share that or whatever like that. So in that sense, I think there's value there. I was thinking about value in a different sort of way. That's why I gave the answer I did. One of the interesting things is that Thursdays, our streams on Thursdays get really low turnouts. Of course, but upon actual suicide, what do those people learn? So are you talking about the people who are the ones committing it or the people around them? They learn that missing the person is an emotion. Oh, I wouldn't put it like that. I wouldn't sort of simplify it like that. They could learn how much value life has, even in the midst of suffering and difficulties. Like living is a good thing in and of itself. I think there's value to be drawn from those kinds of reflections. By the way, I don't think that that's like the only way to learn those valuable lessons. And maybe it might be. I mean, it might actually be like a seemingly gratuitous evil or something like that. That might be a category of gratuitous evil. Jerome, I don't know whether you've read the book of Proverbs or not, but I recommend that you do read the book of Proverbs. And one of the things in the book of Proverbs that I think gets repeated is that a wise person learns from the mistakes of others and doesn't need to experience something himself or herself in order to learn it. Sean, I prefer. So the very simple answer to your question, Sean, is no. It's not okay. It's never okay. Um, specific scenarios I prefer not to think about because you can always change the story a bit and come up with a different outcome. The uncomfortable nature of me having to drink this over my microphone. Sure, but I'd be the one using that verse, surely. I'd say that a wise person can learn the value of life without having to witness someone go through it. Amen. And zero value. It's not like the person lived. Yeah, what I'm saying is that Book of Proverbs speaks about just general wisdom, people not having to go through something in order for them to learn it. I wouldn't disagree with what you're saying. I think we're in agreement on this. If the person lives, they can just tell everyone their testimony. But if not, what happens? Nothing that we could learn anywhere else. Well, I think you can like project, say, you could look at the sudden loss of a loved one from sickness or accident or something like that, and project what a situation would look like if the individual themselves had taken their own lives. So I think you can do that. This is very interesting to me that we only have 3 people on YouTube. I haven't had low numbers like this in a very long time. That's why I'm concerned. Hmm. I don't think I got the notification until just a couple of minutes ago. We've been on for an hour. Hey, you think? Hey, because of the matter. Okay, so I just had this thought. Do you guys think because of the nature of this conversation, we've been like flagged? The algorithm doesn't want our conversation going out to everyone else. You guys think that? Is that a possibility? Of course, it's a possibility. It's just really interesting to me. Stranger things have happened in the land of YouTube. I like your answer that not all young earth creationists appear to be denying the data, just interpreting it differently. But is this rejecting of the peer-reviewed consensus interpretation a harm? No trust for science. The thing is that the very serious young earth creationists I've seen, and then there's a segment of what you're talking about, and I agree with you. It is, for that segment, it is. The serious-minded young earth creationist guys that I've seen, guys and girls, mostly guys, they are not rejecting the peer review consensus or something. What they're saying is they are operating from a certain worldview that ought to be denied. What I'm saying, I'm trying to say that they are trying to approach it in a reasonable manner as to why they disagree with the conclusions they're coming to. We all realize that if we have different kind of presuppositions or different starting points, that could change the conclusions we come to. I mean, that's part of doing science. And the individuals that are trying to do and prove or be in the argument when it comes to younger creationism, and they know what they're talking about, do it that way. I'm not talking about like conspiracy theory stuff. I'm not, oh, the scientific world is like submitted to Satan or something like that. That's not the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I'm talking about legitimate guys and girls who have degrees, who publish, right? They're a part of the peer reviewing kind of stuff. And what they're saying is, no, here's why we ought to disagree on the conclusions or the presuppositions that are leading to conclusions. Sean says, how many people have you converted? I have no idea, Sean. I don't think. Well, let me put it this way. I don't really think I convert anyone. I mean, I think God does that anywho's. But I get what your question means. It's honestly beside the point when it comes to the sort of work that I do. Welcome back, On Fire. Sean, maybe you can convert and become a Christian, and that way I can say one. How about that? I said I'm trying to deconvert you. Okay. If you're going to try to deconvert me, you better come up with better arguments than the ones you've presented to me. You know, when I asked you about this being a sort of mere Christianity channel, it's weird how a number of channels that I've come across recently would probably pan you for not being anti-Calvinist. Look, I mean, I've probably had the most anti-Calvinist channel and person on YouTube on my channel, and it was a great discussion, and I agree with him quite a bit. His name is Leighton Flowers from Soteriology 101. Dr. Flowers speaks quite a bit against Calvinists and Calvinism, I should say, and certain Calvinistic conclusions. But I've also had Calvinist theologians on my channel and had really good discussions with them. So if I bring on people on certain subjects, if I have access to those people, let me put it that way, if I have access to those people, I also try to bring on people that might disagree, like especially within Christian circles, that might disagree on a number of things with them. Not talking about like main main issues, like secondary issues. It's no problem for me. I mean, it's also a learning experience for me. I like talking to people. I like learning from people. It's all good. Stuck. Yeah, I hear you. Christian YouTube is a weird place, man. Most of you are mass infighting from what I see. And it's weird for me to see so often now. I think that's just people. I think that's that speaks to the immaturity of people. I know what you mean. Yeah, I wasn't going to get caught up on that. Oh, I got to unlock this. Sean, how you doing, man?
Not too bad. Thanks for having me on. I'm going to do some controversial topics again. Love it.
Do you have a website open?
I know, I'm not going to be... No, I'm not going to talk about... No, I don't have a website. So, what is the easiest way to deconvert you? Just get cut to the chase.
Oh, man, I don't know. What would be the easiest way to deconvert me?
What would be the bet? Like, me, it'd probably be miracle to convert me. What would be the one for you?
What do you mean miracle? Like a miracle happening to you would convert you to Christianity?
Yeah.
Really? What kind of a miracle? You wouldn't say like you're hallucinating like Richard Dawkins said?
It has to be a good one, like.
Like what? It
has to be like, I don't know, like seeing Jesus for real.
Like
what, in the flesh or something.
What about if you like have a vision of Jesus?
Yeah. But like, no, not a vision. I want a real guy in front of me. And I want to be perfectly normal. And he looks like Jesus and he says Jesus. And then I touch him and he's like ghostly.
Yeah, I mean that would be a vision. But that would be a vision. But what about if like Jesus showed up in your dream and told you a bunch of stuff that like would happen and then it does happen?
Yeah, that could be debunked though. So I need a proper miracle though.
Wait, how would that be debunked? Suppose you had a dream.
Because people can have mental health delusions. They can have visions. People have mental health problems that have that.
But I gave conditions. But I gave conditions. Like suppose you have a dream and Jesus comes in your dream and says, "Sean, in 3 days, at 12:52, this will happen to you." Like, how would your mental issues be able to predict that?
Okay, that would be a good one, I guess. But still, there's loads of other ones. But anyway, so
okay.
What about you? Like, what would make you deconvert?
Well, for me, stopping being a Christian would be that if there's substantial evidence that Jesus Christ didn't exist, or Jesus never died, or we found his body and bones. Those would be
the main ones, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, that would be reason to deconvert, yeah.
And you haven't looked into atheists that talk about that? Well, they probably won't say they haven't found evidence for God in Jesus anyway. I don't think there's any evidence. There's no, so you want, like, evidence, real evidence that God was crucified and his burial. Okay, yeah. I get you. Fair enough.
Buried,
well, I don't think atheists can give you that. I don't think atheists can give you that. You'll have to do with unsure on that. But atheists can deconvert you in different ways. Like
what? Like, what do
I
you think
follow
would be able to deconvert?
there's loads of YouTubers doing that now. It's like, holy shit, there's loads of them I follow. Like Gnostic Informant, Myth Vision, what else? Fucking loads of them. Apologia. Fucking, they'll give you all the answers. Or what's his name? Bird Ehrman.
Do you think I don't listen to these guys?
Yeah, what do you think?
I think they're not good.
What?
Let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. Apologia, I haven't listened to. Like, I'm aware of him and stuff like that. I've seen some stuff, but Myth Vision a bit more. There isn't anything those guys have produced that I really didn't have knowledge about. Like, I've studied about all the stuff those guys produced throughout Bible college and seminary.
Were you studying in the same college that William Lane Craig teaches in?
Yes, my seminary, my master's program. Yeah, he was one of the professors
Teachers
there. Yeah,
cool. Because I listened to some of his debates. He's all right. Like, I've listened to him talk. Like, what's the other guy? Lex something.
Lex
Scottish fella.
Lex? Yeah, are you talking about John Lennox?
Yeah, John Lennox. Yeah,
John Lennox, the man.
Oh, yeah. Who else?
I wish
there's
John
the guy,
Lennox was my grandfather. He's not Scottish. I don't think he's Scottish. John Lennox is not Scottish.
I don't know, but anyway. So, what else? There's other apologists. Who's the other famous apologist who thinks that that the resurrection is real and something? What's his name? Something. He's got a German name. Something.
John Lennox is from Northern Ireland, by the way. He's Irish.
Yeah, he's basically Scottish though. Came during the. Anyway, so
you can't say that.
Yeah,
it's like me saying you're like kind of basically British.
No, there's loads of Scottish people that want to know. Anyway, don't want to talk about politics. So what else? So Jesus.
I want to know who you're thinking about. I want to know who you're thinking about with a German name. Who's got a German name?
Apologia made a video about him.
Are you thinking about Gary Habermas?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I got a little 10-minute interview I did back in the day with Gary Habermas. It's like it's probably still up. I'm not sure. I might have put it down. But it's a 10-minute video I did with him, interview, where we spoke about people who think Jesus never existed. So Jesus mythicists.
Oh yeah, and he's big into proving that the resurrection is real and all that.
Yeah, so he is a historian. And did Apologia just recently do a video on him?
Yeah, I think 2.
That's because he just wrote a book, Volume 1. That's 1,000 pages.
About what?
About the resurrection. It's his like magnum opus. It's the culmination of like 50 years of work.
About how to prove.
I think it's going to be altogether. I think it's going to be 5 volumes. It's going to be about 5,000 pages.
Wow, and it's all to try and prove that the resurrection is real.
Correct.
Jesus. all the atheists would be reading that and be like, yeah, no. I don't know, man. I mean, Apologia will probably read it. Loads of people read it. But I don't know. I mean, is he using science to prove his things and all that?
He's a historian. Why would a historian be using science? He's not a biologist.
Yeah.
That's like me saying that's like somebody goes, hey, some guy's working on a physics project, and I go, are they using the historical method? Like, that makes no sense.
No, but he can't really prove 100% that it's correct because he has to believe in the miracles and all that. And historians cannot say miracles are true because miracles goes into the realm of science. A
Maybe, maybe
historian cannot
not.
say
Maybe, maybe
miracles.
not. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily think.
Yeah, you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to say is maybe it's not a scientific question per se. I mean, science studies physical sort of stuff in the universe. If by definition miracles are beyond the natural order of things, science is going to have a hard time studying things that are beyond the natural order of things.
Yeah, you talk about metaphysics now and all that stuff.
All the good stuff.
Yeah. Metaphysics. Is that the study of
So
the
break the word
possibility
down.
of God?
If you break the word down, meta means beyond, and
Yeah,
physics.
physics.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
beyond physics.
So it just gives you the option that there's a higher power. It doesn't have to be God. It could be any God or anything that's
Correct, or
magical.
anything non-physical beyond physics.
That could explain the ghostly things that people don't like, the miracles and weird
Sure, I mean
stuff.
anything beyond physics, yeah, anything beyond the physical. So even if somebody believes
Yeah, but I
that,
think
even if somebody believes in like thoughts, as opposed to brain neural firings, like the actual existence, or if they actually believed in things like the actual existence of numbers, then they would be believing in metaphysical things.
oh, that's numerology, or
No,
what's
no, it's
that
not.
Jewish thing?
No, it's not.
What's that Jewish practice there?
Kabbalah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but they have a thing with numbers.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
But that's not what we're talking about. Epicurus is in the house. What's up, Epicurus? He says, "Don't atheists ride magnum opuses?" Opus. Okay. Also, I'm pretty sure they do. Pine Creek interviewed Habermas, and he couldn't answer many of his questions. Haven't seen that interview, so I don't know.
say that again. A magnum opus. What does that mean? I'm not very good.
Kind of like
I'm not very educated.
life's work kind of stuff, like big magnum.
Obviously, we're not all woke, like, atheists are normal human beings.
Really?
We're not going to hell, okay? We're not all going to hell.
Yeah, you're not unless you become a Christian.
Wait, are you saying that all the non-Christians are going to hell?
That is what I'm saying. Yeah, I would say that's a.
Oh my god,
That's
it.
It's very funny that you say things like "Oh my God" while you claim you don't believe in them. It's hilarious.
But
it's very
thing.
funny. It's very funny to me.
It's like, you think it's cultural appropriation?
I don't think it's cultural appropriation. I think it's a bankruptcy of your worldview. You have nothing to cry out to, so you cry out to my God.
Yeah, but it's like saying other words that.
Look, Sean. Let me put it this way. If you're right and God doesn't exist,
okay,
right? Then my claim that you're gonna go to hell is a completely pointless and meaningless claim. So you shouldn't be reacting to it the way you are.
No, I'm just worried for the Christians who believe that.
Why are you worried?
Because you'll be traumatized. I think. See, Pine Creek says that it's okay to be a Christian, but the whole point of being an atheist and deconverting Christians is because even if something is not true and it's not bad, I would still just try and deconvert it, because the truth always leads to good. So, what was I saying? Yeah, I lost my.
Nietzsche would have completely disagreed with you.
Are you saying that we should have false beliefs
No.
even if they're good for you?
No, I don't say that. But what I'm saying is that the truth that always leads to the good. There could be many scenarios in which truth would lead you to completely crazy circumstances. So according to Nietzsche, the quote unquote death of God was going to lead to complete collapse of our moral systems. That's not good.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, just
He
look at the
went
Western
crazy.
world. Just look at the Western
Hitler
world.
followed him.
I
mean,
if you look at the Western world, it seems to me that he's been right.
So what do you think will happen if the whole world went atheist?
Well, that's a bit weird because atheism doesn't purport to have a certain kind of singular way of judging situations. So there's probably be quite a bit of confusion. A bunch of confused atheists trying to figure stuff out.
Well, it's the same with religion, man. There's like, what, 2,000 religions in the world?
Yeah, I don't deny that. But when you look at religion, you can't look at it as a singular thing.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, you think that it'll be worse if everybody was atheist. I'm saying the opposite.
Hey, Sean, just a shout out to you. Jerome said, I wish that I had Sean's bravery sometimes. Man.
Yeah, no, I do kind of say what I think bluntly, but I understand that if I say some things, I could trigger, and
trigger who?
I understand
me?
that.
Have you ever triggered me?
I could go even further, but I don't. But then I'll get kicked out. I don't want to get kicked out.
Hey, Sean,
anyways,
let me ask you a question. Do you call in on other people's channels as well?
Pine Creek.
Is he are other people as nice to you as I am?
Pine Creek, I disagree. I talked to him about climate change and stuff like that, and he disagrees with me on that. So I kind of had a disagreement with him on that.
See, it's fine to have a disagreement. I was just talking about if people are nice to you, like I'm nice to you.
Oh no, yeah, you're fine. You're good. I understand why people.
I know that because I have the love of Jesus. Because I have the love of Jesus in my life.
Are you saying that if you're an atheist, you wouldn't be as nice?
Oh, dude, I was not a Christian at one point or another. And trust me, my guy. Trust me, that's not a guy you would want.
Oh, you would be like screaming right now.
I was a mess. I was a mess before I knew Jesus. I'm not just saying that because I can just make up the details. There are plenty of people that would attest to that because they knew me before I was a Christian.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I understand why religions are useful. I mean, it's like, I think, okay, this is my theory. Okay, if everybody in the future becomes atheist, right? We believe in science and all that. I still think there'll be bad things, but there'll probably be more nihilism, okay? There will probably be more, let me think. No, we'll replace it with other things. I mean, there's examples like Asian countries are mainly atheistic, to be fair, and they seem to be doing
Where'd you get that from?
Japan, South Korea, what else?
South
China.
Korea South Korea is one of the most densely populated Christian countries on the planet.
All right.
The largest church on the planet is in South Korea.
Oh wait, are they mainly atheists in South Korea?
I think you're thinking about North Korea.
No, I'm not sure about South Korea. I don't think they're fully Christian though, are they? South Korea?
South Korea has a huge Christian population.
I know they got that mad religion there. What's that cultic religion there? They have that Christian. They follow this mad guy who loves guns. What's his name?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's a cult, the Christian cult there.
Most of the time I know the cults. I know the weird ones, but I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
You do, man.
I don't. I really don't. So a Korean guy that loves guns?
Yeah, he's a big Christian guy who has like huge public marriages with loads of...
Bro, that guy's not a Christian. Are you talking about Sung Young Moon?
Yeah, I thought he was Christian.
The Moonies... No, man, that guy claims to be God incarnate. That guy's like whacked out of his mind. That's a cult.
All right. But he doesn't say... So does he call himself a Christian? Does he call himself a Christian?
I don't think so.
Oh, so he's a different religion.
Yeah, I mean it's a whether you want to call it an offshoot of Christianity or whatever, but I think it's like beyond that.
Okay, so I'm confused. So you're a Christian, right? And you have your own denomination. Do you think that I don't have my own denomination, Sean? Do you think that all the other denominations are going to hell or something, like the
No,
Catholics and all that stuff?
no, I don't.
No.
No,
But what do other Christians think about other denominations? Are they going to hell as well?
depends. Depends. I mean, I can't
Do the
answer.
Mormons?
I can't answer a question like Mormons are not Christians.
What? So they're going to hell?
So let me ask you a question: do Christians believe in one God? It's very simple. Very simple. Listen, do Christians believe in one God?
Yeah.
Okay. Mormons believe in many gods. Do Christians believe that God had a beginning or God is infinite?
Infinite?
Okay, Mormons believe that God used to be a human being just like you and I.
Well, that's a funny religion, man. At least I heard they
so-
don't go
so
to hell. That's what Pine Creek said.
What I'm saying is that Mormons, I have a rightful claim to make when I say, I'm not just saying it because I don't like Mormons. As a matter of fact, most of the Mormons that I've ever come across are very, very nice and sweet people. The fact is that theologically, the stuff they believe in does not in any way correspond to traditional Christian doctrine. The other thing is that Mormonism, as a matter of fact, is a result of their leader, their founder, Joseph Smith, claiming that none of the Christian denominations were, they'd all been corrupted essentially. So he had to create a new denomination and get a new revelation because everything had been changed. Very much like a Muhammad. So it's weird. Like a Mormon claiming to be a Christian is the equivalent to me of a Muslim claiming to be a Christian.
All right, I can make up my own religion now and say that
Correct.
I'm
There's
Christian.
a guy that did. There's a guy. His name was L. Ron Hubbard. He created Scientology.
Yeah, I mean, how can you disprove me? I can make up a Christian sect that says I'm God reincarnated. I actually kind of look like Jesus.
Well, then you wouldn't be a Christian by definition because you'd go
But
against.
how would you disprove me?
Disprove what?
How would you disprove my religion using your methods without using science and stuff?
Well, I would say that you can't take the name Christian or the title Christian, considering that the stuff you're teaching goes against what Christianity actually teaches.
No, but I'll be following all the practices of Christianity. Okay, well, actually, no. I would say I'm God, and I believe in.
You realize you wouldn't be the first person to do something
I'm
like
gonna make
this.
my own religion, right? And
Like,
okay, try.
This is not like a novel idea. Like,
Yeah. I mean, there's probably
I'm
new
Jesus.
religions.
I'm Jesus. I've come back, right? Like plenty of people have tried that.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. What was I thinking? Oh yeah, I was thinking about how can you disprove a religion using science, or how can you so you disprove other religions using the Bible and how to interpret the Bible.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it depends on the claims that these people make. So, like Mormonism, so if we were to use Mormonism as an example, Mormonism internally has a number of claims it makes. Right? So, for example, they'll claim that they believe in the God of the Bible. And then they say things like the God that they worship had a beginning and was a human being and kind of got elevated into the level of being a god. So they're like weirdly polytheistic. And my response to them is that you can't claim to be a Christian because it goes against the very simple teachings of the Bible. Because the Bible doesn't present a God like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's all like woo, but I guess there's some religions that are less bad than others, you know. But I would still think, I mean, the best religion I think is probably, I don't know. I can't believe there's 2,000 religions out there. But like, yeah, there's less. I mean, there's this one atheist fella I follow.
I don't buy that stat.
He says that Hinduism is worse than Islam. I'm like, what?
Oh, that's interesting.
Which I understand because the caste system and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree to a certain extent on that.
So you think what would be better, atheism or Islam?
That's funny. Depends on how much the Muslim is following what the religion actually teaches.
So you want to be a liberal Muslim instead of a
Oh, I think a liberal Muslim is a lot better than
atheist.
yeah, and partly because
Okay, do you want?
there's points of agreement with Muslims I can have very simply, like God exists and supernatural world exists, and I think they're right on that stuff.
So a liberal Muslim to you is a guy that doesn't have a burqa or doesn't care about
Well,
burqas.
guys don't wear burqas.
A woman, I mean burqas, and what else? What is liberal Muslim to you?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how that would be developed. I would say, hopefully and preferably for the rest of us, they wouldn't be incorporating the violence texts, that they wouldn't be acting in violence. That's predominantly the thing that there would be. I think the treatment of women in certain Islamic societies definitely is wrong and bad.
Yeah, I heard that atheism is growing a lot in Iran. I heard it's like 50% of population. That can't be real.
Yeah,
If
I don't
that's
think
true,
it's
that's a
50%.
revolution.
I don't think it's 50%, but I think it's growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I got some context there,
I
so
think
yeah, it's growing.
I think extremism causes the religions to lose their faithful. Because if you're more extreme, then you become less popular, maybe. But then if you
Maybe so.
become too liberal, then you lose followers too. Because then you say, "I'm not following." So you have to find a balance in the middle.
Correct.
That's why the Pope, he's smart. He studied physics, man. He studied chemistry, so he's not that. So he's trying to placate the young ones like me that LGBTs are good, marriage is fine, but he doesn't want to go too far because he'll alienate his extreme ones, the trad Catholics and all that.
Does any of that stuff that the Pope says, would any of that stuff convert you to becoming a Catholic?
Well, my mother is a Catholic. My family are
but I'm talking
Catholic.
about you. I'm talking about you.
Would it convert me? No. I've gone too deep in the atheist black hole, and I have too many questions answered. Like I've been following this religion and atheism stuff now for 5 years on YouTube, so I don't think you can ask me any question to try and convert me, and I'll try and debunk it. Give me your best shot. I mean, the miracles, I don't believe any of them. There might be some miracles that can be proven scientifically, like, the laws of some maths or something. What else? The historical stuff is okay because I understand, because people believed in myths back in the day, so they had historical stuff because they believed in falsehoods, so they had historical stuff for it.
It's
else?
very interesting to me. Did you watch the conversation yesterday with Pine Creek on there?
Yes.
With all due respect, I think the stuff Doug was saying was myth.
Say again?
I think the stuff he was saying was myth, and people
About what?
About our universe having some other universe, or some of the he distinguished between universe and cosmos, having something outside of it that would have been the cause of this. None of that stuff isn't. It doesn't seem like in any way observable.
He needs to to criticize him. You have to apply science. You'll have to talk to physicists, and I'm not a physicist, but from what I hear from physicists is that they haven't found evidence for God, and they probably never will. But they're still looking for it. I mean, they are looking for.
Do you think there's any physicists that are Christians?
Yes, there's some, but they're delusional. It's called delusion.
Okay, so it's anybody who disagrees with you is crazy.
No, I'm not saying they're crazy. Sorry, I should be more politically correct. Sorry, I should be like Donald Trump. Okay, but politically correct. All right. So no, obviously you could be smart and religious, Okay, the Jews are good at that.
Yeah, just hang on
It's
one
wonderful.
second. Happy Luke said, you should have told it. You should have told him it sounded like a myth. I think he's saying to his face. He's got thick skin. I know I've talked to Doug quite a bit. It's not a thought I had in the moment that I was having a conversation with him. It's just a thought I had as I was just speaking to Sean. So
I mean, yeah, okay. It's understandable that there's differences in the origins of the universe. We're still learning about it. I mean, but most of the miracles in the Bibles can be debunked. I mean, using science and all that. And then there's some that are kind of hard to prove. Like, I don't know. What are the miracles you think are quite hard to disprove scientifically? You think?
the resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth.
Well, that's the big one, isn't it? That's the main one.
I like that one quite a bit.
But it's common sense. Anybody with common sense. I mean, with any other religion, you'd say someone coming back from the dead is impossible, so it's a myth. We did that with all the other gods. That's what what's his name? Ricky Gervais said. He said, what did he say? He's got loads of short
Dude,
ones.
if in a conversation like this, the scholar that you quote is Ricky Gervais, I think that's problematic.
Yeah, but I'm not that woke, man. I don't follow all the scholarly stuff. I just want to follow YouTubers, man. But some of them are scholars. Okay,
Maybe you should read a book.
they're all going. No, but the scholars are all going to YouTube now. They're making more money in YouTube than
That's
selling their
true.
books.
You're right. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, because all the dumbasses that don't want to read don't need to read their books anyway. So what was
no. I think you can communicate quite a bit in regards to the written word. It gets a lot more detailed.
Understandable. Yeah, I know it's true. Reading will probably never go extinct. But anyway, Ricky, what did he say? Oh yeah, all the gods are fake except one. So there's only one left.
That's like the lamest atheist line. That's the lamest atheist.
Okay,
Ricky Gervais needs to like stop saying that.
But he's got loads of them. Anyway, so
so here's my response. In all seriousness, my response would be created. So all created gods. Any religion that teaches that their God had a beginning would, by definition, be suspect to that kind of a criticism, because now they believe in finite deities, and that's problematic.
So all the ancient religions had a created God.
Correct. Go read ancient Greek philosophers and their criticisms of their own deities, and that's essentially the arguments that they're coming to. They're not atheists.
Well, they're anyway. Okay, fair enough. So yeah, I can critic. The only reason Christians believe in God is because He's infinite. Is that one excuse you have? That's kind of lame. Infinite. I mean, I could say the universe is infinite. How can you just? You said that the only reason God is real is because He's infinite.
Okay.
That's kind of hard to prove. You need more evidence for that. You can't just say that and say, okay, that's proof there. You need to prove
that's a claim. Like me. There's a difference between claims and proofs.
What does that mean, claim?
What's a claim is a claim you make. Like if I were to claim Arthur is the smartest person in the room, that's a claim. It's not proof.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So you're not saying that if God is infinite, that's one claim, so it means that God could be real. So what was I talking about before?
You were trying to say that the universe is infinite.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into that because that's just going to go for... I can't even prove that... Anyway, so what else am I going to talk about? Oh yeah, the miracle. Oh yeah, you're talking about Jesus' resurrection. I mean, come on, man. I could disprove that easy. I mean, if a different religion said that my God came back from the dead, I'll be like, get away from that, man. Get away. Get away.
It doesn't matter what you would say.
That's bullshit. Give me real evidence now. I mean, give me the...
I love it. Hey, look, this is a great response that the very reverend Nick Quint put. He said, the claim would be Arthur is the smartest person in the room if, now that's a conditional claim, if he is the only one in the studio. So Arthur is the smartest person in the room if Arthur is the only person in the room. I stand by that 100%.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I'm also,
so
I would also in that case be the handsomest one in the room.
yeah, I can't share my face. You don't want. It's not worth that.
That's okay.
Anyway, so it'll be like. But anyway, so yeah, so resurrection. I mean, I don't have to. I can disprove it in like 2 sentences.
Hey, Sean, there are
I
theories. Do you know there are theories about you online?
Like what? What did I say?
says, I'm convinced Sean is actually a Christian and playing a character of an ignorant atheist to make Christians more confident they're correct.
Sapir Ado, man, if you're a woke atheist, come here and help me. I'm an atheist, okay? I like joking around.
Why would you qualify that with woke atheist? Like, why would you qualify atheist with woke? What if he's an atheist but he's not woke?
But Christians like criticizing us for being woke. It's all the culture war.
Christians aren't the only ones. Bill Maher, who's an atheist, criticizes the woke because it's a dumb ideology.
Yeah, and they say that the atheists are mainly the woke ones. Understandable. There's a culture war going on now, and the atheists are the liberal Democrats.
Are they the ones saying the stupid stuff?
I'm not going to talk about politics. But anyway, so what was I saying? Yeah, so Sapir Ado, come and help me. Stop hating on a fellow atheist. We already fight each other enough anyway. Well,
that's
to
right.
be fair, I kind of
That's right. You tell him, bro. Hey, what's up with you atheists? How come you guys aren't like teaming up togetger? You guys got to fight each other.
Fair, I understand why you criticize me. I'm acting kind of immature.
Of the highest order.
Okay.
I need to know more about philosophy. I need to know more about philosophy and all that bull. But like Pine Creek said, you don't need philosophy to debunk religion. Just science. All you need is science.
That's a nice way. That's a nice way of not having to deal with serious philosophical arguments.
Like what? Like what philosophical argument? Give me one.
The contingency argument.
What the hell does that mean again?
Well,
I heard it so many times.
No,
the contingency argument is that God is the beginning of everything. No. Ah! Okay, I have to stop being such a twat.
This is serious.
Control yourself.
Yeah, look, the universe is a contingent kind of thing, and in order for it to be contingent, it needs something to be contingent on.
Yeah, you're talking about now that the universe is infinite, basically, and God is infinite.
Well, whether it's infinite or finite doesn't change the argument.
Yeah, so you're saying that God created everything in the beginning.
Either created or everything is contingent on God.
Okay. Yeah, but I could just say it's a different type of God. How can you disprove me there?
That's fine. Now we both believe in God. Let's have a conversation about that. So you're no longer an atheist.
Okay. Well, no, but I could also say that it's like T-Jump says, it's the universe, or it's the laws of nature, or whatever. It could be something else. It could be anything else.
I haven't heard. I haven't listened. I haven't listened enough of T-Jump's stuff.
He knows his philosophy. That guy. I don't understand half the shit he says. But then he goes into
that doesn't necessarily mean he knows his stuff. Just because you don't understand someone doesn't mean they know their stuff. Not saying that T-Jump doesn't. Okay. I'm just saying.
So like Jordan Peterson, basically, because Jordan Peterson talks philosophy shy, and I disagree with him. I don't
think Jordan Peterson's talking about philosophy.
Well, he used loads of words philosophy would use.
It's more like psychoanalysis. It's more psychology stuff.
Okay, right. But anyway, so he was.
But can we agree on the fact that you're no longer an atheist because you said you could say it's another God?
It could be the universe. It could be anything. It could be flying spaghetti monster. I don't know.
No. Don't say silly stuff on this channel. Come on now, Sean. Okay, let's have a serious. Okay, let's take that idea. You brought something up. Let's take it to its logical conclusion. See what we can do with it. All right. Suppose I said that everything is contingent and reliant on God and X, Y, and Z, and then you said, but it's another God. It's not the God you worship, Arthur. It's another God. Then I would say, cool, Sean. I'm willing to entertain that thought. What sort of a God would this God be?
I'll make it up like. That's how religions are made, like humans. Yeah. He has spaghettis or something.
Okay, are those
spaghetti shaped?
Yeah, so are those things physical? Material?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's problematic to your worldview.
Why?
Because you said this God is the one that brought everything into existence, which means like physical material things. So it can't have physical material parts. Because physical material parts decay and so on and so forth. Let me show you a video.
Yeah, and?
Let me show you. Because I think the way you're going with this argument is actually... And this is a serious debate that somebody brings.
This is serious.
It is serious.
This is serious.
This is serious.
I know, but I think if I turn people atheist, I'm worried that, to be fair, I try and turn my mother atheist, and maybe
she wasn't having it. She smacked you upside the head and told you to get a life.
Yeah, she said,
"No, mom right there.
If I go atheist, she'll say, I don't want to live anymore." I think there's a lot of Christians that think that if they go atheist, they don't like this world or something. So maybe I shouldn't. That's what Pine Creek was basically saying. But no!
But hang on.
I think humans are smart enough.
Hang on. Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. You can hear me, right? You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's watch this video. Some of you guys have seen it, but I think it does the job, okay? Because this guy plays the devil's advocate with Bill Craig and says he's talking about a computer that is the beginning of the universe and stuff. No, but he doesn't say God. He says it's a computer. Okay.
I was simply saying that this is not a mere matter of speculation, that there's more than a tiny bit of evidence on the table.
But is he saying
evidence for what? Evidence for a beginning of the universe.
Yes. Well, we know that. Nobody disputes.
All right, well, that's what I'm offering in this first argument, is the evidence.
But because there's a beginning doesn't imply a God.
It does if the first premise is true, that whatever begins to exist has a cause. It logically follows.
Yeah, but the cause hasn't got to be God.
Well, remember I gave an argument for thinking that this cause is timeless, spaceless, immaterial, enormously powerful, and personal.
I think it's a computer.
Well, that wouldn't... computers are designed by people.
No, this is a self-designing computer.
Timeless.
Timeless.
Well, that's a contradiction in terms.
Why is it timeless? What's contradictory about it?
A computer has to function. It takes time.
No, this is a special computer.
Yeah, but it has to be logically coherent.
Oh, it's logically coherent?
Yes, you have to be logically coherent.
Oh, no, this computer is amazing.
No, besides, it would have to be, as I said, a personal being.
No.
A computer is a physical
Not this computer.
Object.
Oh, well, then, no.
Okay, see, what you're doing is what you're calling a computer is really God. A non-physical, It's just another word if you rob it of all the attributes that make it a computer.
So that's the point I want to make, is that you can use words, like if you say computer in this sense, or the definition you were giving, and then you rob it of all its properties and give it all the God properties, it no longer means the word that you started off with. It just a substitute word for what I already believe in. It's like, cool.
Yeah,
we agree.
But then I could make up my own religion following that God. I can make up my own belief system on that.
You can make up anything you want. That's besides the point. The question is not, and the question should never be, can people make up fake stuff and convince other people of their fake stuff? Like that's a given. Like we all know that's possible. Right?
Yeah.
We all know that's possible. The question is, here's a claim. What's the truth value of those claims of that religion?
Obviously, all religions have truth values. But
okay, that's good. Yeah, they all have claims they make that are true.
Yeah, I mean, the moral claims and all that. I mean, I'm fine with that. I'm just disagreeing on the miracles side and some beliefs. Like, yeah, some morals are wrong. Like, some practices and beliefs are wrong. How do you say that in a philosophical way? Factually can be logically disproven or whatever.
You know,
Like some
you could
practices.
just say there are some moral beliefs that are wrong. That's
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's completely
But
fine.
yeah, I thought there was another word there, but I don't have the vocab. So that's cool. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. I mean, my spaghetti monster is true.
Well, it
or
can't
I
be
can
a
call it
spaghetti.
physics.
It can't be a spaghetti
Why?
because spaghettis are created things to be cooked and eaten.
But this one's a
Then
special
it's no
spaghetti.
longer a spaghetti. So if I were
Yeah,
to ask
I know.
someone, can this spaghetti monster be eaten and consumed and pooped? And they say no
Yeah.
because it's a special kind of spaghetti X, Y, and Z. Then it's no longer
No,
spaghetti.
This one's a special one.
No,
This
you
one
can't
you can
say
do
that.
whatever you want with it.
Look.
I can
You
say
have to
anything I
be
want.
logical. You have to be logical. Okay. For all the times atheists claim that like they have the upper ground on logic, this is one of the stupidest arguments that's come out of the atheist psyche. This spaghetti
Oh, okay.
monster nonsense. Okay. They've actually drawn a picture of it. That's how stupid it is. Okay.
Oh yeah, they also believe in Satan.
If you say
Satanist.
spaghetti and then rob it of all its qualities of what a spaghetti is, all the properties that make a spaghetti, like for example, is it made of dough?
No, but this is a spiritual.
You can't say that. Then you can't use. Then you are no longer able to use the word spaghetti. Now,
Why?
let me give you an example. So here
That's
in my
just your
hand,
opinion,
okay, here in my
Okay.
hand,
Yeah.
okay, here in my hand, I hold a drink.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if I said this is a drink, that would be a fair statement. Okay.
That's a drink.
And you said what's in it, and I said it's wine. And you go, okay, is it like all liquid? And I go, no, there's all this like flaky tea sort of stuff in it. And you go, well, like wine doesn't have that. And I go, but no, this is a different kind of wine. It's a special kind of wine. It's no longer a wine. It's like I'm using the word and then underhandedly robbing all the properties
Yeah, but
of
you're
what makes a wine
talking
a
about
wine.
God. I'm talking about a higher power. Like I cannot prove this God with physics and rationality.
Yeah, but you're
God
using
is a
words. You're using
concept.
words that have meanings, right? Like so you're saying spaghetti. Spaghetti is made of dough. Would this thing
Yeah, but
be
this
made
is-
of dough?
But
Unless
you do the same. You do the same thing with God. You
In what
think it's a
way?
man.
in what
He
way?
looks like a man.
Who said
looks
God
like a
looks like a
man.
man? Who said God looks like a man?
Well, in early Christianity, they thought he was a
No,
man.
they didn't.
What else?
Medieval Christianity portrayed God in a certain way, and everybody knows that's not what the Bible teaches as God looks like.
Well, whatever. There has been descriptions of God in text
No,
before.
stop listening to myth vision
We
nonsense.
are in the image of God. We're made of the image of God,
Correct.
aren't we?
We are in
Does
the
that mean
image
we
of
look
God.
like God?
No, nowhere in the Bible does that idea appear. Image of God language has to do with authority, kingdom, rulership. It is his representatives, his priests. It has nothing to do with we physically look like him.
All right, so back to the spaghetti monster thing.
Okay. Do you? No, I'm seriously trying to I want to have this conversation seriously.
I disagree. I disagree with you there because I think I can make up my own religion and say this spaghetti monster guy has special properties. It's not the spaghetti. It's not the okay. It is physical, but you cannot touch him. It's got loads of powers, and you cannot see him. But I've seen visions of him, so it's spaghetti. So there you go. And then the atheists would go, we can't disprove you because it's just your word. And then the atheists would go, I need to disprove you using science. Well, you can't disprove me using science because it's it's basically the same thing for God.
If I just let you talk, you'll just like argue against yourself.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that my spaghetti monster is just as powerful as your God.
Okay.
And you trying to disprove me is by using the physical stuff. But I could just say, no, it's not physical.
I'm not using the physical stuff. I'm just going based on definitions. Okay, let me actually pull up some of the arguments that people are trying to help you out with. Okay.
Yeah, help me, atheist.
So happy Luke the page says, Arthur, I feel I can mirror this move. When you say personal being can be spaceless and timeless, that's not a person anymore. Just like that's not a spaghetti anymore. I think, Luke, you misunderstand what Christians mean when they say personal. When we say personal, we mean with the ability to have a choice, to be a personal agent. That means it has volition and agency. That has nothing to do with the way you're using personal there. Okay, so that doesn't fly. So continuing, he says, as a materialist, persons are material things in my view. Correct. Your materialism is wrong. Just like a spaghetti. But again, when I say person, we don't mean to say personal is not meant to be like human material stuff. It has to do with agency. Volition is probably a better word to use so that people aren't confused, or agency. So your whole argument would fall apart if I were just to say volition and agency. And you could be a materialist, you can be a physicalist, it doesn't matter. You're going to have a hard time explaining where agency and volition comes from. That's just the reality of it. If you want to go read the best physicalists on the conversation about free will and agency and consciousness, you can read Jaegwon Kim and see what he has to say on the matter. But Sapere Aude says, Arthur, you may be confused about the language, to be honest. I'm not confused about the language. Anything can be called anything. Words don't have properties like that. Words don't have properties like that. Words referencing a thing. The thing has properties that the word is referencing. I'm not confused about this at all. Okay, so if I said, this is tea, I'm not talking about the word tea. I'm talking about what that word is in reference to. And that's really not complicated. You guys are much smarter than that to actually have this conversation on that kind of a level. So when somebody says a spaghetti monster, okay, here's a couple of things that come to the conversation. Number one, what is a spaghetti in order for me to understand what we're talking about? What is a monster? Now this thing has two components. Both it's a monster and it's made of spaghetti. Okay. If it doesn't have the properties of spaghettiness and monsterness, it is no longer a spaghetti, nor a monster, nor a spaghetti monster.
But we could believe it's not. It's the same. It's belief, faith.
Oh, okay, that's
Don't worry about it.
nonsense. No, that's nonsense. No, don't simplify the conversation like that. I'm too intelligent. I'm too intelligent.
What? Tell me. Go ahead. So you're basically saying that God is not physical. That's why you're saying I'm
That
wrong.
is one of
God is not.
that one of the classical
Okay, so I could just say
definitions.
that I could just say that my spaghetti monster is not physical.
Okay, so it's not a spaghetti.
But he looks like a spaghetti monster. There you go. What's the difference?
Because
and he's got loads of cool
because
powers.
that's contradictory.
Why?
You can't say he's not physical but looks like this.
Well, God. People thought that God looks like a man. Like
Okay,
Michelangelo.
let me help you.
Go
Okay, the God that you believe in, right, would be a non-physical entity that presents himself or reveals himself as something like a spaghetti monster.
This is so funny. Okay. Yep.
Thanks for agreeing that there's a God that reveals himself in a certain kind of form.
Yep. I don't believe it.
You would be a theist. I know.
But no, I could also say it's the maths or the laws of the universe that cause everything. I'm not sure. There's loads of theories out there.
Well, I know there's loads of theories. That's not like just to claim that there's loads of different ideas out there doesn't mean we can't know anything.
Christians should not be so sure themselves that
Why not?
it could be anything else. That it's God, the specific God. Because it could be other things. It could be different gods. It could be what the atheists say. I don't know what the fuck the scientists say nowadays.
Are you sure of your atheism?
No, I'm not 100% sure that there's no God. Yeah, but you should not be 100% sure there's a God either.
It doesn't. Maybe I'm like. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm insane, and I just want to be sure of things. The question is not whether I should be sure or not. You said you're not sure of your atheism, and I said so. You shouldn't be calling yourself an atheist.
Okay, I'm an agnostic atheist. Whatever. The atheist cannot prove. Whatever. Okay, so I'm an agnostic, but I still think. I'm agnostic on God, but I still think that the religion that believes in that God is a myth, is not true. So
yeah, now that's a different conversation.
Yeah, okay, but Christians should not be so sure of themselves that God is real because other people said so. But to be fair, most of the stuff we believe in is other people said so. But the reason why science is so powerful is because we can, like, oh yeah, this is what Ricky Gervais said as well. If, let's say, we destroyed all religion and all science, he said that in 1,000 years' time, the laws of science would still be discovered. But religion would be totally different. We would have invented a different religion.
The problem with Ricky Gervais is that his presupposition is already snuck into his conclusion that God doesn't exist. So
yeah,
he's a sleight of hand, and he doesn't even realize he's doing it. But I'll tell you what he's doing. Okay. The sleight of hand is he's assuming atheism is true, and saying he thinks that religion is a byproduct of human evolutionary thought, and we just like invent things. Like God doesn't actually exist, so atheism is true. And he says in 1,000 years we'd rediscover all the laws of science and all that stuff, but religion would look differently, because he snuck into his initial premise that atheism is true. And all I would need to do is disagree with that and say, no, God exists, and in 1,000 years, God would reveal himself to us the way he's revealed himself. So again, these sorts of arguments from people like Ricky Gervais.
But how can you prove that? You cannot prove that.
I don't need to prove it. I don't need to prove it. All I need to do is show that his quote-unquote argument, which is not an actual argument, it's just a statement. It's an assertion. His assertion has snuck into it the presupposition that atheism is true. And I deny it. So therefore, his assertion can't take off. So
yeah, but
again,
you deny
your
it on
average
an opinion.
Look, your average bear might sit there and listen to that guy, Ricky Gervais, and be like, wow, that's a pretty smart statement and stuff like that. But Yogi Bear is smarter than the average bear. Did you ever watch Yogi Bear?
No.
Okay, you gotta go back and watch Yogi Bear.
No, if you're basically saying that God, you believe in God so much that he would reveal himself.
Sorry, did you say that?
If you were to use a lot of logic and science, you cannot. You basically said that God would reveal himself after 10 years of the initial destruction of everything. He would create Christianity all over again. So you're basically saying, but you cannot, using the scientific method, you would not be able, because science uses the scientific method, and you saying that cannot be proven scientifically. It's just an opinion, man.
Look, dude, you can say the word science like 850 million times, and it's like a useless statement in the conversation we're having. Science, scientific method, proof, it doesn't mean much. Okay.
Well, using the scientific method will probably be able to debunk. It is debunking most of the stuff in the Bible.
There's plenty of things that the scientific method nor science can answer. That's just a plain fact of reality.
Well, yes, philosophy and what else? Psychology. They use science to prove their theories. like in psychology. What's the biggest theory now in psychology that they're trying to prove? You don't know?
No.
Or psychology, they try and use science to prove their theories of the brain and all that
Hey, I'm
stuff.
not
So
saying. I'm
if we
not
didn't have
saying.
science,
But hang on,
if we
Sean.
didn't have science, you would not
Sean.
have your religion stuff.
Sean. I'm not saying that science doesn't get employed in various interdisciplinary endeavors. This is a question, like if I were to say if God existed, God would reveal himself. That has to do with a certain definition of God, a certain definition of what goodness of God looks like, and whether God is bound to reveal himself if he is good. That is not a scientific endeavor. That's a philosophy of religion conversation. And frankly, you can pile up every single scientist on the planet. They'd be completely useless to that conversation.
Yeah, but you could have different philosophies. Okay, let's say I was a atheist philosopher and I was trying to debunk you.
If you were an atheist philosopher, listen to me. If you were an atheist philosopher who understood the philosophy of religion, like somebody like a William Rowe, you would agree with my statement 100%. As a matter of fact, I'm verbatim quoting from William Rowe's philosophy of religion book.
All right, sorry, I have to go now.
Okay.
Good. Okay, fair enough. I'm not woke enough for this, but anyway. So I'm just saying my battery's going down, so I have to go. But it's good conversation.
Thank you, Sean. I will continue this conversation because there's people making comments. I want to respond to them. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. So look, I'm not quoting a Christian on this. I mean, this is just generally accepted in regards to philosophers of religion. If God were to exist and God was good, God would reveal himself. He would have to reveal himself. And so I agree with that statement. And so, again, someone like Ricky Gervais making those statements, I think it's obviously the case that he's sneaking his conclusion into his premises. And that's problematic. In regards, so let me look at some of the comments that you guys have made. Sean's always fun to talk to. This is a false dichotomy, by the way. Happy Luke, he said, immaterialists don't have a superior model of volition to neuroscience. Notice what you did there. So the false dichotomy is this. Immaterialists, those are people. Neuroscience is a study. Okay? Because there are people who are neuroscientists who believe in immaterialism. So this is a pointless statement. You can't actually argue against the idea of a spaghetti monster by saying it has to have the properties of pasta. Surely there's better counters than weird essentialism about language. Then the analogy and the pictures of an actual spaghetti monster are completely meaningless. I'm going to stick to my guns when it comes to that. You say spaghetti monster, you're bringing into the conversation certain physical attributes. And either you're going to stick by them or you're going to drop them. If you drop them, then they no longer are the things that they're referencing. Philosophy of language, philosophy of religion is going to help us in progressing through this kind of a conversation. Again, it's silly, man. It is silly. That's why, with all due respect, that's why random people on the internet use these arguments. And you're not going to come across any serious atheist who's a philosopher using an argument like the spaghetti monster argument. Because they know they'll be eaten alive. They know their field of study. Just because something's been popularized, guys, doesn't mean we repeat it and then, you're not going to get pushback from Christians. Does Gervais say that though? Where I've seen a video of Ricky Gervais saying that. I think what Sean was referring to, I've actually seen. I can actually pull it up. Look, Ricky. Man, it was on the Colbert Show. I actually it might have been a part of one of the videos that I did on Ricky Gervais, that people were like, can't believe you're responding to two comedians. It's hilarious to me that you get, people will quote these guys. And then when we make responses, they go, you're responding to comedians. It's just hilarious to me. Saying what? That he doesn't think that omnibenevolence doesn't require revelations. No. What he says is that if science and religion were to disappear today, in 1,000 years, religion would look differently, but science would, we would still have the same scientific discoveries. There is a conclusion that's stuck in there, is what I'm saying. That's what he says. That's a claim he makes in that video. This was about, you were defending the extended kalam, where it assumes that the cause of the universe could be a volitional agent. I would say it would have to be a volitional agent. This won't get off the ground for a materialist. Yeah, okay. Then we wouldn't have anything. That's the whole claim. You said that materialists will struggle to explain volition. I don't think this helps make the extended kalam plausible to me. That's fine. It is no surprise to me that you get materialists / physicalists who regularly make claims that there is no such thing as free will, because they're being logically consistent. And I think the rest who aren't are not. I mean, I've watched and read folks who are materialist philosophers who say the best we can do is some kind of probabilistic theory when it comes to free will. Like, we can't really claim it. And I amen that. You can't. But plenty of people, especially on the internet, will like to have all of it. They want to have the free will stuff, but they still want to have their staunch materialism. And it's just not possible. Two hours and 9 minutes. I'm going to respond to this and I'm going to go because I have a number of things to do. Okay. Even if we assume for the sake of argument that there was a serious atheist philosopher that made an argument about the spaghetti monster, philosophers wouldn't counter by appealing to essentialism. No, they would. It's not necessarily essentialism that's coming into play here. It's definitions and terms. If by the word spaghetti and monster you mean completely different things, it is no longer a spaghetti or a monster. It's the words have reference. All words do. And I could just end up saying what Craig says in that debate is hey, whatever you're claiming to be a computer is actually God. And so at the end of it, if they get rid of all the properties of what spaghettiness and monsterness is, that's the essentialism coming into play there. Then I would just say you're just coming up with a different word for God, and it's a meaningless statement. You're just agreeing with me. Saperado says science wouldn't necessarily come back the same in that hypothetical. That's also true. I think historically, looking at things and the way science has developed in different parts of the world, there's certain worldviews, specifically I would say the Christian worldview, that has created a great nest for science to advance. And in a world where there is no Christianity, and before people say, do you have any examples of that? I'd say, yeah, we have examples of it in the way science developed in China and India and Africa. Why didn't it produce the sort of results that we saw in places where Christianity was a dominant worldview? Is a very, very good question to ask. I think it's a question that a number of atheists, historians ask, and the answer is that Christianity creates a great nest for that to come about. So, with that said, losing my voice. Thanks for the conversation, Sean. Thanks for the conversation, folks. Appreciate it. I got Bible study tonight. So take care. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow, 5 p.m. I might stream earlier in the day and then do the 5 p.m. We will see. I'll see how I want to make that decision. So take care. God bless you. See you later.